She learned to tell the price of a bottle by the tremor in her own hands. Alara ran a small perfumery on the corner of a market street. The shop was a single room with glass bottles on wooden shelves, a small sink, and a counter scarred by years of measuring and stirring. People came for wedding scents and for oils to calm a colicky baby. Sometimes a neighbor left bread in payment. Ilara's mother was sick and the bills were steady. Her younger brother worked nights and could only bring home so much. The town's needs were simple and immediate: medicine, warmth, food, and Ilara's hands could make money if she stopped making only pretty things. They called Marta a witch because she lived alone behind a high hedge and kept jars of herbs and tinctures. Marta had been the town's informal healer for years. People whispered that she could coax a fever down with a steam and a smell. One afternoon, with the heat sweating on her forehead and her mother coughing in the alley, Ilara knocked on Marta's gate. Marta listened without surprise when Ilara explained she wanted to make perfumes that did more than please. They wanted to heal, to steady, to lift someone out of a bad week. Marta did not conjure spells. She taught Alara a method, combining essential extracts with precise dilutions, controlling fermentation, and using rare herbs that were hard to source. You can do it, Marta said, but you will work longer and you will pay in other ways. There are chemicals and repetitions. Your nose will adapt. Your life will narrow. Ilara agreed. There was no dramatic bargain, only the pragmatic exchange of time and effort. She stopped going to the market at midday. She took on larger orders. She learned routes to gather herbs in the early hours and negotiated with a farmer for rose petals. At first, each new formula sold brought bread home, then a small cushion for medicine, then a proper roof tile for rainy nights. Her mother's cough eased. Her brother's shirt had a new patch of work. Success answered every fear. But slowly, the work changed her. The constant blending dulled the thrill of a single bloom. She no longer noticed when a petal fell. She began to mix in silence. Her sense of smell, once sharp and generous, flattened. Roses smelled like dust. The morning wood smoke that used to lift her shoulders and make her laugh became simply a background note. Friends asked her why she looked hollow after a good day. She did not know how to explain that joy had become a tool she wielded rather than something she owned. Years later, on a gray morning, her brother left the shop early with a basket of lemons and a small letter. He had been saving quietly. He had spoken to Marta and to neighbors. He came back with two: women carrying a kettle, fresh bread, and a promise. They would take over the heavy orders for a season. You gave us everything, he said, his voice thick. Let us give you a few months of mornings. It took time. The dullness didn't vanish overnight. They made her slow down, sit with the tea Marta steeped, walk to the river, and breathe without work at the back of her mind. Taste returned to some things first: the tart of lemon, the metal tang of rain. Smell came later, in whispers. The lemon zested on her palm, the exact green of a crushed leaf. When she came back to the bench, it was not to the same urgency. The shop kept running. The people who had bought what she made for years now bought from hands she trusted. Marta visited once, bringing a small jar of a cooling salve and no sermon. You learn to trade something for survival, she said quietly as they watched the market. That's not a crime. The cost is heavy when it's invisible. The real work is in being given back what you lost, accepting help. Alara thought of the long nights and the warm shelf of bread, of her mother's quieter breathing, and of the brother who had been learning how to care in ways she had not seen. She understood, without any magic, that sacrifice is not noble if it becomes a prison. The town still called Marta a witch when they liked a story. Alara kept the name on the sign above her door because people still came for the things she made, now with recipes taught by Marta and a life shared with others. She kept a single small bottle on her mantel, a plain rose distillate that smelled, finally genuinely, like the first bloom of the season. She drank tea with her family in the mornings and learned to measure time not only by the number of bottles sold, but by the hours she could simply be. Please like and subscribe to our channel.